Hello and welcome. Welcome and hello. I am back. No, the office is not more put together if you've been following my new office journey. Well, okay, a little bit. Okay, we got like a shrine-ish. There's a butterfly on it. It's happening slowly. We're getting there. Currently, I do have bookshelves that are built. They're going to go on either sides here, so my background will look really pretty really soon. But for now, you just kind of get to the lower half of my diamond, which I love too. And we're here. We're back. Joining me back in the middle of my moving journey with a fun video about how to use magic. What? No. How to use water in your magic. Water to support you on your spiritual journey, and a bunch of different ways that you can tap in and use that water to help you connect. So hello, if you're new here, hi, I'm Emily. I'm a professional psychic, activator, and historical channel or historical medium. Basically, it means I talk to things that a lot of people can't necessarily see, but that are there and give us a lot of valuable information, such as spirit guides, deities, entities, people who lived in the ancient past. You name it, you get it. There's videos all over my channel about all of those things. Side note, I also really love books. If you can't tell, there's a whole bunch around me. So oftentimes I talk about books as a healing modality as well. So that's a bit about me. And a bit about this video is we're going to talk about how Olaf was right, pretty much over and over and over again. Olaf, yes. Olaf like little snowman.
Like a little baby unicorn.
What? Hey, whoa!
And we're going to talk about how water has memory. If you haven't seen Frozen 2, I highly recommend it. It's an incredible high vibe, amazing journey of activating awesomeness. But before we dive into the magical properties of water and how you can use them in your journey, first things first, I do have to thank my patrons. They sponsor every single video and they get a shout out at the start of this video. Also, I do have patrons that voted on this video topic as well. If you would like to vote on video topics, if you'd like to get shouted out in videos, if you'd like to have a monthly call with me or a monthly tarot reading that's just for the group, or I mean a million of the other perks that I put in there, which is quite a few of them, check out my Patreon. So, thank you very much to my Intuitive Initiate patrons, Alexandria, Angela, Arson, Cheryl, Danny, Danielle Iskui, Meg, Raquel, Rebecca, Sarah, C, Sarah S, and Amber. Thank you all so much. I'm so happy to get to be a part of your journey. As with all of you, I'm so thankful and glad to be a part of your journey as well, even if it's just a little part, even if you just join me only for this video. I'm thankful that you're here, and I'm thankful to have you in this space and get to share just a tiny bit of energy with you. And if you want to share more energy with me, I do have an option for that too. You know how I mentioned how I do like channeled history? Well, you may or may not see in some of my content about channeled history. I have a video about how I went to the Parthenon and a video about how I found a sacred door on here, a bunch of other stuff. Basically what I mean by that is I will go to different areas around the world and channel in either ghosts that are still there, deities of that area, people who live there in the ancient past, and learn more about those cultures, the stories of those people, the energies about, you name it. And you can come do it with me too, if you would like to. Yep, we are going to Italy next May, and Italy is one of my favorite places on the planet. Specifically, Rome is one of my favorite places on the planet. I have videos on TikTok and Instagram about what it was like going to the Colosseum as a psychic, and what it's like going to the Vatican as a psychic, and what it's like going to Ostia Antica, which is basically an ancient Roman port town. Think Pompeii, but without the volcano. That's kind of how the ruins are. I'm currently writing historical fantasy about ancient Rome, and you can participate with me. You can come, you can walk around with us, channel, explore Rome, eat pasta, bring your guides, get better connected to your spirituality, chat with ghosts, you name it. We have a couple spots still open, and we would really love for you to join. It's going to be such a good group. So a lot of people that are in this group have actually traveled with us before, which is super exciting because they love the traveling so much that they want to come back with us again. And that makes me so incredibly honored, and we'd love for you to be part of this group. It's so activating. And in the words of one of our tour guides, and I'm going to do a bad accent here, so warning in advance, you come as strangers and you leave as family. Because that's how it works. Thank you to Malcolm. He's in Greece and he was the bomb. But truly, I would love for you to travel with us to Italy, do channeled activating and connecting, and truly come home a new activated, more connected person with a better understanding of the world around you and how you can tap into that magic. So if you want more information about that, I'm going to put the link below, or you can just search Trova Trip with Emily and Crystal Lynn, and that will pop up as well. But that is also the reason that I'm able to do fun videos like this, because I do have you all supporting me in a bunch of different ways, and traveling with you is one of my favoriteest things ever. And I am so excited. Side note, stay tuned for another location announcement potentially later or soonish for another trip as well. But if you're feeling drawn to Italy, we would love for you to come. Sweet! Let's get wet! Let's talk about water. All right, first and foremost, water is one of the most magical substances we have access to. It's definitely the most magical physical substance we have access to. And the reason I say physical substance is because if you think about ether is basically the energy of magic anyway. And though it is technically an element we have access to, it's not necessarily a physical element we have access to. So water is that element. Water is so essential to everything on our planet, obviously from like a biological standpoint. However, also from an energetic standpoint, it is essential to everything on our planet. It holds and stores more energy than basically anything else. One drop of water stores at least a terabyte of memory. So yes, water has memory, just like Olaf says. He's not wrong. And in fact, all of Frozen 2, watching that movie, we actually did a full podcast episode of it. Our podcast is called The Alchemist Inkwell, if you want to check it out. But we did a full podcast episode purely talking just about the metaphysical nature of Frozen 2 and the spiritual nature of Frozen 2, because truly it is such a deep metaphysical, spiritual, magical movie. And this was just one of the concepts in that film where I was like, yes, finally, like mainstream media is talking about water in this way that it can truly be a magical property. Because it can, and it always has been. For as long as people have been here, water has been magic, and long before that as well. So you can use water in a ton of different ways, but I do think that it's important to note that it does have memory. I actually used to work with a woman who studied water very significantly for its spiritual properties, and she could do things like, she had this special camera that could like see images in the water and in your blood and those kind of things. And the way that we would do like a tarot reading or an oracle reading or talk to your guides or do like a psychic reading, like how I kind of do, she would do that via looking at images that would show up in your water or water that you had just touched or blood. It was really, really interesting. I don't know if she does it anymore or I would share her name, but that is stuff that is out there, that is accessible, that we can actually look at, and that's how much memory water holds. So thinking of that, there's a lot of different elements and parts of using water in your spiritual and metaphysical practice that is important to kind of think about. The first of which is just because water holds memory doesn't mean that water can't be stagnant or basically dead. And I know that sounds weird because it's not necessarily a living organism, but energetically it can die. It can be nothing. And so then in that case, it is important to activate, reinvigorate, program the water to kind of wake it back up again. And there's other ways to program and activate your water as well. So we're going to break this down into our first section talking about water, connecting to it. Oh, water's my favorite element. I love it so much. Anyway, I live by a huge lake, so no shocker there. So first of all, for programming the water, you can program water to do certain things for you. One, you can just wake up your water. It's just going to be a naturally better for you thing. A couple things about water. It doesn't like plastic very much, and it doesn't like metal very much. I say as I drink out of my metal water bottle. It truly doesn't though. So if you want to drink water that is in either a plastic bottle or a metal bottle, please make sure when you fill up the water, give it a little swirly swirl. Swirl it around, clockwise, counterclockwise, it doesn't matter. It just wakes it up. It like literally reinvigorates the water. One of the things I can do is see energy with my natural eyes, and it truly changes the energy. The energy looks different there. So give it a little swirl. It just makes it a ton happier. You can also start with a wooden spoon, but usually just swirling around the bottle is the easiest to kind of wake it up, activate it, and just basically get the most out of the water you possibly can and get energetic hydration the same way you get physical hydration from that water. Most of the water that you get in like the disposable plastic bottles, super duper dead. So it's super important that you wake that water up because you're just not getting as much benefit. If you've noticed ever when you drink water out of those disposable plastic bottles versus out of like a glass or out of like your own bottle, anything like that, it doesn't hydrate you the same. It doesn't feel the same in your body. That's part of the reason why, among other things, but that is part of the energetic reason why. So first and foremost, you always want to wake up your water. If you're going to ingest it, please wake it up. Second of all, you can actually program the water to do even more. Again, thinking about the fact that water has a bunch of memory, you can also like make that memory work for you, make that water work for you. This is a concept that has been studied extensively, where if you write things on the water, it actually changes like the visible appearance of the water under a microscope. But that also means that it's affecting the way that it interacts with your body. Again, both physically and energetically. So you can program your water. You can write a word on it if you want to do that. Like, this is my water of strength, and I'm going to write a word on the cup that I use. Or you can literally talk to it, be like, give me energy, which I do all the time, yelling at your water. Totally acceptable. Doing it with love, of course. Don't be mad at your water. It didn't do anything to you. It's building your body. So just blah, 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 blah. This is also why affirmations work so well, or one of the reasons affirmations work so well, is because you are programming the water within your body with a specific energized line of text, of words that you're either saying out loud or writing, and that makes it incredibly more activated for you. That's activating the water that exists in your body towards a goal as well. So if you're building the blocks of your body by drinking activated water, water that's programmed with a certain intention, you're going to have more of that intention throwing through your body and therefore be more of a magnet for the thing that you're intending. Make sense? Cool. You can also use things like sigils or talismans or anything to activate your water. I have these amazing cards that I'll use. I'll show you some of them. They're really interesting. I don't make them. These are by a guy named Freddie Silva. He doesn't really sell them unless on his website. He does a lot of work with temples and crop circles and the energetic impact of basically symbols and sigils. Super duper interesting. I will intuitively select one of those and I will put it underneath my water. But I will put it like underneath my water so my water can like set on that, and then it activates my water throughout the day as well. So I have, sometimes I'm like, ooh, which one of these symbols will give me stronger intuition or more of a pull? Anything like that. You can also activate your water with kind of like a loving heart intention. If you want to just hold it for a second and kind of meditate the energy into it, push the energy in through your heart center and then drink it, that's fine too, especially if you're needing extra love, extra comfort. It's just going to double up what you're already holding in your heart space with the best of intentions. Water is really kind as far as an element goes, so it's not particularly harsh, and so it will come in with a very deep level of intention. You can also be activated by water as well. So we just talked about how to kind of program it for your intentions and what you'd like it to do for you, but it can also program you, especially if you're going to talk to like a big natural body of water. It can program you right back. Natural bodies of water are wise. They are powerful. At the very least, they have a guardian spirit, but most of the time they have a consciousness themselves. Don't think too hard on it. Just know that there's a consciousness there. I can expand on that in a different video as far as like the metaphysics behind that, but truthfully, it's just knowing that the water is there, it's sentient and conscious. And it can activate you. That's why swimming in natural water is so beautiful, of course, if it's safe to do so. Whether that's the ocean or lake or even just dipping your toes in a stream, you'll get so much out of that purely because water is so naturally activating. You're made of water, it's made of water, and you guys can communicate really, really well together. So though you can program water for your intention, it can also program you for your intention or with a gift that it wants you to give. Water is very wise, but also very powerful. So just don't fuck around with it. If you're polluting water, that's on you. And it's not, good luck. Just good luck. Okay. We're also going to talk about activated forms of water. Now, what an activated form of water is basically a water you have chosen to use a different element to activate. The most common ones of these is moon water. Moon water is an incredibly common substance. Basically what moon water is water that has been set out either under a full moon or a new moon. Both of those activate sort of different properties within the water, but you are letting nature activate this natural substance. And it is basically, if you're doing full moon, it's for cleansing. That's what you're programming the energy of into your moon water. If you're doing a new moon, it's for manifesting. That's the energy you're programming into your moon water. What I will say with that is you want to pay attention to the vibes of the full moon or the new moon. If you're like, this one feels weird, this is the type of moon where werewolves come about. If that's the vibe and you don't want to put that into a water to use in anything, by all means, you do not have to, but just kind of pay attention to how the energy of the moon feels to you. If you want to just rule of thumb, put it out every full moon, then pay attention to how the energy of the water feels to you and use it the way that seems best from there. Sometimes people will make moon water under very important and special moons or very impactful moons, and they will hold on to it for X amount of time, like a decent amount of time. Use it in different ways from there, which I'll touch on more on in a second for what to do with this activated water. But you can also make sun water. Sun water is for kind of re-energizing things, where moon water is for like cleansing or manifesting things. It's kind of the opposite. It's like, poof, we need some more energy here. We need some more shifting here. It's for moving energy around pretty significantly. Again, you just set your water out underneath the sun, the same way you would set your water out underneath the moon. You can make eclipse water, which I don't recommend, but by all means go for it. It's kind of like trying to put a tornado in a bottle, so you don't really know what you're going to get when you use that water. If you are super into chaos magic, if you're someone who bought what's the green rock? The green rock that wrecks everybody's shit. What is it? But that rock that everyone bought in 2020 and got their Moldavite? Moldavite. I got there. It's green. And it activates people. It's super intense. It's kind of like a initiating your tower moment. Oftentimes that is what Eclipse does. A tower card is the card in tarot, the card that means that you're about to break everything down so you can rebuild it. That's not always something fun that you want to initiate, but if you need your life shaken up, that is a way to do it. Moldavite or using Eclipse water. Yeah. So you can make Eclipse water if you want to. You can also make crystal water, where you basically put a crystal that has a certain property or that holds a bunch of energy of a certain thing into the water. So then it kind of makes like a liquid form of that crystal that you can use. The same way that making moon water makes a liquid form of that moon energy that you can use, or sun water is a liquid form of sun that you can use. That's just the core principle here. So get creative with it if you have other things you want to do with it or charge it in different ways. Perfect. Do that, because they can work with anything. Water is incredibly mutable like that. It's liquid. Anyway, so those are some ways you can activate it. Again, that is just scratching the surface. It's not all of the ways, but those are some of the base level, like beginner sort of ways that you can definitely activate it and tap into the water. So what do? Once you've taken the water from normal water and you've made it into magic water. Obviously, with the programming stuff, oftentimes the most logical thing to do after that is to drink it, or you can program it for your plants to be like, oh, you're going to help with growth or healing if your plant's sick. Pour the water on there, or program the water being like, you're going to help me feel better if you're sick, and drink that, or anything like that. You can do that as well. So most of the time when you're programming it with like the symbols or writing on it, it's mostly for ingestion. But if you're doing moon water or sun water or crystal water or anything like that, what can you do with it? I'm going to tell you, because there's a bunch of different things you can do. It depends on the principle of the water that you've activated with, right? So, for example, moon water, you can use that for cleansing. You can use it for cleansing yourself. You can use it for cleansing your home. You can use it for cleansing objects. When there's a really powerful full moon, I will use moon water that I make from that to paint all of my doors. Like I'll go through and I'll literally paint my doors with the moon water, or my thresholds with the moon water, so that it cleanses everything that comes in and out of my house. Because it has that property, and I've just basically made a moon paint, and I'm going to let everyone walk through my moon painted door. You can do that. People will do oftentimes like wash their altar or wash their desk with the moon water to, again, get old energy out. You can also save it for any magical ritual or spell work that you want to do, depending upon the type of moon water, right? So if it's like a cleansing spell, you might use it for like a banishing sort of, or cleansing water, like a full moon water. You might use it for like a banishing sort of spell. Or a like shielding almost sort of spell to make sure all of the negative energy stays out of your space. That's one way to do it. If it's a manifesting type of water, again, you can use it on things that represent what you're manifesting. So for example, if you're trying to grow confidence and you have a plant that represents that, you can water that plant with that now new moon to activated moon water, and it will foster that manifestation of making it grow. You can drink moon waters. Again, just be really conscientious of the type of energy you're ingesting. If it feels aligned, go for it. If it doesn't, don't. Just don't. Because certain energies work different ways to basically help you make the most of it. So those are some options that you can do for like the cleaning. You can also like, if you get something from like a thrift store, which I have done this, if I get like an object from a thrift store and I'm like, it has tenuous energy, I'll cleanse it myself. But if I have some moon water, I'll usually kind of wash it with the moon water as well, because again, helps it really cleanse. If I'm making any sort of talisman, or I have a new necklace that I want to wear when I'm manifesting or talking to my guides or anything like that, I will charge water with that particular energy, and I'll dip that in there. And then again, it really charges that object with that energy. I'm a very water-based person. You can do this with other things too, but for me, it works best with water. You can also cleanse yourself. You can wash your hair. You can, rub it on your head. I used really activated water. We were at an Awam stone when we were in Ireland. Awam stone is basically an ancient sacred stone. I was talking to the Fae. There was a little pool of water at the bottom of the Awam stone. I was told in no uncertain terms to use a little bit of that like on my chest and on my head, and it kind of cleared and activated some new stuff. It's been a kind of a journey. I'm sure I'll make a full video about it, but that's another way that you can do it. You can also just use natural or running water for this. I did mention obviously the sentience of lakes and rivers and things like that, but even just a shower. If you've noticed when you get into a shower, you feel so much better afterwards, not just because you're relaxed, because you're clean, but because you're letting that water wash your energy as well. That is the power of water, is it does have the ability to do that via visualization or physical water to actually release that. So you can use the water for those purposes. You can also meditate with it. And what I mean by meditate with it, it actually helps people quite a bit to have like a bowl of water in front of them when they're meditating, or even to put their hand in when they're meditating, or putting their feet in water while they're meditating, especially if you're someone who is very connected or drawn to water. This really helps because you're using the connection water has to all that is to help you connect better to all that is. Regardless of what your goal with your meditation is, if it is to connect more with your guides or your higher self, or you name it, insert reason here, water can help you with all of those things. So meditating with water can be really, really helpful. Or even, if you are taking a bath safely, you can meditate there too, and you might get more accurate tuning in, or it might be easier for you, or you might get more visual stuff depending upon you and your unique gifts and how it all flows for you. Now, you can also use activated water for shedding or manifesting specific things. One of my favorite ways to do this is actually to work with or write with the water itself. For example, if I'm trying to shed or release something, I will usually do this under a full moon if it's good for shedding and releasing. And I'll go outside in the dirt and I'll write with my little finger what I'm shedding, what I'm releasing, and then I'll use some activated water from the past full moon, or even the next morning that after the water sat out underneath the full moon, and I'll just pour it onto that dirt and wash that away. Let the nature release that for me. Let the water do its work, letting myself be represented in the energy of earth and letting water wash that over me. That is one really easy way to do it. Or manifesting, you can kind of do it the same way, but instead of washing it away, actually try to write with the water a little bit. If you can put it in like a Ziploc bag and make it a little squirty, that works. Or even just writing on a piece of paper, like, this is what I'm manifesting, and dunking it in the water and setting that out underneath a new moon, or just letting that dry and letting the water that's been activated with the new moon energy evaporate and therefore carry your manifestation intentions up. Then you can get rid of the paper and whatever feels good. You can also just, if you're trying to shed things, just flush them. That's a way of using water. You can write it on like toilet paper, rip it up really small, flush it down the toilet. That's using water too. It doesn't always have to be glamorous, pretty, and magical to be magical. You know what I mean? It's fine. And as I mentioned before, you can also use it for spell work or things like that. And the spell work is truly up to you. I'm not a proclaimed witch. I don't consider myself that way, but I still do use ritual and spell work in different ways. I just don't really know the rules of it. They've never jived with me, so I've always done it in the way that feels the best to me. And if that's the way you're doing it, that's perfectly fine too. So that's just a couple of the uses of water for magical intents and purposes. This is a kind of quicker video on it, mostly because I could go on and on and on this 4 days, but I think the introduction is the strongest. That being said, whatever you would like to use magical activated water for is beautiful. Do that. There's no rules, especially with water. There's no rules. With water, you have this beautiful ability to do whatever you want, to create things, to destroy things, to release things, to build things, to call things in, you name it. That is water, because water is truly activatable and changeable and programmable for you and your benefit. So whatever feels good, by all means do that. And if you want to share some of the uses you do with water, some of your metaphysical or spiritual uses, please do so in the comments. I'd love to chat about it and let other people see what ideas you do, because truthfully, the more you're creative with these types of things, the more it benefits us all. And we just want to appreciate and marvel at your creative energy and how you use water to get really cool results. That's my water video. No, I'm just kidding. It is my water video, but I'm not just going to end it up like that. Thank you guys so much for being here. I have got a couple questions recently of kind of how you can work with me a little bit more. First of all, I do readings. You do have to wait a couple months to get in there. My calendar is pretty booked out, but I'd love to do a reading for you. They're called soul readings. Basically, we tap into your higher self, your spirit guides, your energy field, and get you clarity on whatever you're needing clarity and guidance on, to the best of our ability. It can also be used for things like past lives. It can be used to talk to your, ancestors, anything like that. We pretty much, the sky's the limits. And I also focus a lot on identifying, pulling, and releasing blocks for you during those readings. I also do group readings, typically once or twice a month. So if you want to get in a reading much sooner than 4 months from now with me, group readings are your spot. They're a very small group, and it's done kind of gallery style, where everyone gets to ask kind of at least one question, and I tune in for the whole group. Any block pulls or activations that I do for one person, the whole group gets as well. I love group readings, so I highly recommend those. Also, I have a variety of different programs that you can work with me as well. I have a couple different digital courses. One is a week-long, super simple little course just to kickstart you into the world of channeling. One is a larger, it's about 9 weeks long, and it's a deep level psychic activation course to help you understand what your psychic abilities are and start to begin to use those. And I also run a writing program. It is called The Forgotten Storytellers, and it's basically where we teach you how to write activated fiction. So we take your fiction book idea, help you accomplish writing that first draft of that book in alignment with your higher self, your guides, and your astrology, and with a bunch of folk magic sort of thrown in. It's super fun, it's super incredible, and it basically turns whatever fiction idea you have into a healing modality that you can use to help heal the world through beautiful storytelling, which is what I deeply believe is going to heal the world. Also, for that, we are currently accepting pitches. We're not always accepting pitches, so if you have an idea for a fiction book, by all means, look at the information below and give us a little pitcheroo. We would love to read your idea, and we would love to have you in the program. It's a very small cohort, usually no more than about 10 people, and that way we're really invested in your book and your journey. And we do have our own publishing company, so if later on down the line, when your book is finished, you can always pitch us to publish us with us as well, because you've been through that program, because that's all we publish. What else do I do? Oh, I have a podcast, queued that up before. It's called The Alchemist Inkwell. And of course, you can find more videos from me on TikTok as well as Instagram at Liker of Words. That's my handle. And I do have more opportunities coming up. Of course, there's the Travel With Me to Italy piece. And I also have a couple other really big, exciting announcements that I cannot wait to make, but I have to wait to make, because that's how the world works. So stay tuned for those as well. Thank you all for being here. I hope this video was inspiring for you. I hope you get at least more interested in the natural magic that is around us. And I just want you to remember that you are magical as fuck. Bye-bye.